Let's start with a question so simple, it almost feels uncomfortable to ask, yet impossibly difficult to answer. What if you woke up tomorrow, and everything you thought was important, wasn't? What if all the goals, the achievements, the checks on the list, suddenly felt hollow and distant? Would you notice? Would you care? Or would you wake up once more, rinse and repeat, carousel of habits on autopilot, thinking, tomorrow will be different, I just haven't gotten there yet? Most people go through years, even entire lifetimes, without ever honestly confronting this question. They carry goals. They chase results. They collect proofs of identity, degrees, titles, status, accomplishments. And yet, at the end of every chapter, something essential is missing. Not noise, not accolades, not validation from others. Something deeper, something older, something that doesn't wear off, even when life softens or hardens. There's a difference between living and merely continuing. One is biological. The heart keeps beating, the mind keeps running, the world keeps spinning. The other, the real kind, is existential. It demands presence. It demands awareness. It demands that when you wake up, you feel the weight and the wonder of what it means to be alive. And this is where many people trip. They confuse movement with meaning. They think that being busy, anything but still, is the evidence of life well lived. But busyness is a symptom of distraction. It keeps you from facing the quiet, sticky truth. Most people don't live because they are too busy trying to prove that they're living. We work for recognition. We pursue thrills. We fill the calendar with commitments. We scroll. We like. We comment. All of it so we don't have to face the disturbing silence inside. But meaning, genuine meaning, is not found in the noise. Meaning is found in stillness. Meaning is found in the pause between two heartbeats. Meaning is found in the moment you stop chasing validation and start facing yourself. Because here's the cruel paradox. Life doesn't whisper until you stop yelling. It doesn't reveal significance until you stop searching for satisfaction. It doesn't feel worth living until you make a choice to stop avoiding reality and start embracing it. Meaning doesn't rush in like a flood. It seeps in slowly, layer by layer, through moments that ask something deeper from you than simply surviving. What makes life worth living isn't found in lists, achievements, applause, or approval. It's found in one thing: presence. Not presence as a word you read in an article. Not presence as a concept you nod to, but presence as a lived experience. The kind that wakes you in the middle of the night with a question you can't ignore. Am I actually living? Or am I just maintaining a life? Presence is when you are awake in a moment, instead of waiting for the next one. Presence is when you feel your own breath without trying to escape it. Presence is when your inner world finally stops acting like a stranger. And make no mistake, presence is not comfortable. Because presence demands honesty. What are you running from? What have you avoided admitting about your own heart? What truth do you keep pushing to tomorrow? These aren't small questions. They are the thresholds between a life that merely exists and a life that matters. And this is the point where the script of your existence shifts. Not when the world notices you, but when you finally notice yourself. So let me ask you now, what moment in your life made you feel truly alive? Not entertained, not distracted, not accomplished, but truly alive. That's not a memory to toss aside. That's a compass. Find that, and the rest of your life begins to make sense. Let's be honest about something. Most people are not suffering from a lack of opportunity. They're suffering from a lack of clarity. And it's not because they're incapable. It's because no one ever taught them to sit still long enough to ask the right questions. We are taught how to succeed. We are taught how to hustle. We are taught how to climb ladders, gain followers, and chase dreams. But we are not taught how to listen. Not to the world, not to others, and certainly not to ourselves. So what happens? We become masters of momentum, but strangers to meaning. We become experts at planning, but amateurs at being. And when the lights are off, and the room is silent, and no one's watching, we feel the cost of that. That feeling you get late at night, that dull ache in your chest, that vague dissatisfaction after a busy day, that sudden realization that you've been so active, yet so empty. That's not random, it's a signal. It's your soul quietly whispering. You've been chasing everything but yourself. There's a quiet crisis unfolding in the lives of millions. People with full calendars and empty hearts. People with hundreds of connections and no one to call. People who are successful by every external metric, but who haven't felt alive in years. And this isn't a crisis of time or energy or resources. It's a crisis of alignment. We are misaligned with what matters. Think about it. When was the last time you slowed down, really slowed down, and asked yourself, what matters to me? Not to them, not to the world, but to me. When was the last time you said no? Not because it was inconvenient, but because it was inauthentic. When was the last time you did something not to impress, not to win, not to keep up, but simply to honor who you are? For most people, it's been too long. And that's not failure. That's forgetting. Forgetting that you were not born to conform. You were not born to numb. You were not born to grind until your spirit forgets how to dance. You were born to feel, to connect. To wake up in the morning and know that even if it's quiet, even if it's hard, even if no one claps, what you're doing matters to you. That is life. And here's what makes life worth living. Not the chase, not the applause, not the approval, but the alignment between who you are and how you live. That's where the peace is. That's where the presence begins. That's where meaning starts to grow again. So, let me ask you, where are you misaligned? What parts of your life feel loud, but empty? And what would change if you started building your life from the inside out? Because when the inside is aligned, the outside finally starts to make sense. Let's talk about the illusion of more. More money, more followers, more recognition, more distractions dressed up as dreams. We're told explicitly and subtly that more equals better. That the person who has the most must be doing something right. But look closely, and you'll see something deeply unsettling. The people with everything often feel nothing. They have the house, they have the car, they have the image, but they don't have rest. They don't have stillness. They don't have a life that feels like home, because more isn't the answer if you're already full of the wrong things. A cluttered soul can't be fixed with a bigger room. A hungry heart can't be fed with status, and a restless spirit can't find peace in noise, only in silence. But silence is exactly what we've been taught to run from. Sit in a room alone for 10 minutes, and your mind will start to echo all the things you've been ignoring. The conversation you've been avoiding, the dream you buried under practicality, the pain you numbed because it was too much to face. And that's why we chase more. Not because we're greedy, but because we're scared. Scared that if we stop moving, stop chasing, stop performing, we'll finally hear the truth. Whisper back, you've built a life that looks good, but doesn't feel good. And that kind of truth, it doesn't need a microphone. It only needs a moment. So the question becomes, will you give yourself that moment? Will you stop, not just to pause, but to listen, to check the temperature of your soul? Because that's what makes life worth living. Not the illusion of progress. Not the performance of perfection, but the courage to feel what's real. Even when it's inconvenient. Even when it's scary. Even when it means changing what no longer fits. Life gets louder when you ignore yourself, but it gets clearer when you return. To what? To the version of you that existed before you learned to perform. To the quiet inner knowing that says, this is not who I am. To the sacred instinct that tells you, there's more. And it's not out there, it's in here. And maybe that's why you're here. Not by accident, but by design. Because some part of you knows, if I keep living like this, I might be surviving, but I'm not alive. So, what if the best thing that ever happened to you wasn't success? What if it was finally realizing, I don't need more, I need real. I don't need louder, I need true. I don't need everything, I just need me, back. There's a weight you carry, and most people never see it. Not because it's invisible, but because you've learned to smile through it, to function, to show up, to say, I'm fine, even when you're breaking inside. But let's be honest, how long can you keep pretending? How long can you keep pushing through life when your soul is exhausted? You weren't born to carry everything. You weren't meant to fix everyone. And yet, somewhere along the way, you decided that your value came from how much you could endure. So you stayed quiet. You became strong, and in doing so, you slowly disappeared from your own life. And now you're tired. But not just tired, disconnected. Not just overwhelmed, numb. Not just busy, lost, and that's the hidden tragedy. You can be surrounded by people, by activity, by movement, and still feel completely alone. Because being alive is not the same as feeling alive. So here's the question you've been avoiding. When was the last time you felt like you're not the version of you that performs? Not the one who holds it all together, but the one who laughs without thinking. The one who dreams without censoring. The one who hopes without fear. Do you even remember them? It's okay if you don't. Life has a way of hardening us, of teaching us to hide, of making us believe that if we stop being useful, we stop being loved. But let me tell you something powerful. You are not valuable because of what you do. You are valuable because of who you are. And you don't have to earn that. You don't have to perform for it. You don't have to prove anything. You just have to come home to yourself. Because the version of you that feels is still there. The version that believes is still alive. The version that knows is still waiting. Not for the world to change, but for you to stop running and finally return. Return to your voice. Return to your heart. Return to the sacred truth you've buried beneath expectations, fear, and survival. That life is not about how much you carry, it's about how deeply you connect. And sometimes, the most courageous thing you can do is put it all down. Let the mask fall. Let the silence speak. Let yourself feel what you've denied for so long. Because in that rawness, in that honesty, in that fragile, sacred space, that's where healing begins. That's where meaning is found. And maybe, just maybe, that's where you begin again. Now we arrive at something that doesn't just complete a chapter, it reframes the entire story. You've been listening because somewhere deep inside, something resonated. Not like a catchy phrase, not like a quick motivational boost, but as a quiet truth that's been pressing against your awareness for a long time. The idea that life's worth isn't found out there in achievements, acceptance, or applause, but in here, inside your lived experience, inside your inner alignment, inside your presence. Let me speak to you plainly, without sugarcoating. A life worth living doesn't happen by accident. It isn't stumbled upon between tasks or surfaced in a moment of distraction. It reveals itself when you start to feel your own existence, truly, deeply, painfully, joyfully, as something that matters. This is what makes life worth living. It's not the accumulation of moments where everything goes right. No, it's the integration of every moment that shaped you. The victories that left you humbled. The losses that cracked you open. The wounds that taught you resilience. The emptiness that whispered a deeper longing. Meaning is born in that space where your inner life finally meets your outer life without resistance. Where the stories you tell yourself stop being excuses and start becoming truths you embody. Here's something most people never grasp. Life doesn't ask you to be perfect. It asks you to be present. It doesn't want you to have all the answers. It wants you to be willing to question yourself honestly. It doesn't ask you to avoid pain, but to understand why you're afraid of it. So here's the unfiltered truth. Real meaning, is not something you acquire. Meaning is something you realize. It's something that becomes visible only when you look inward instead of outward. A life worth living fools itself not in what you collect outside, but in what stops inside. Presence, therefore, becomes a sacred practice, not a once-in-a-while feeling. Presence doesn't come from avoidance. It comes from engagement with reality. Your reality, even when it's uncomfortable. Presence isn't silent because it's peaceful. Presence is silent because it sees too much to speak in distractions. When you finally allow yourself to stop pretending you already know who you are, that's when you begin to know who you actually are. Not the version shaped by expectations, obligation, or social narrative. Not the version optimized for acceptance or applause, but the version that stands in your own truth. That version is not loud, it doesn't boast, it doesn't perform. It simply exists with awareness. It breathes with intention. It listens before it reacts. It feels before it explains. And that subtle shift is the inner threshold that separates those who merely exist from those who live. So let me ask you this, not as someone telling you what to do, but as someone inviting you to reflect. When was the last time you honored your own experience? Not your achievements, not your reputation, not your roles, but your actual life. The sum of moments that made you feel, think, hesitate, grow, internalize, become aware. Not as an abstract idea, but as a felt reality. Because life worth living is not something distant, or grand, or ethereal. It is something that slowly reveals itself in the tiles of ordinary experience once you stop ignoring them. It reveals itself in the moments you show up without guaranteed the times you stay, even when you wanted to retreat. The conversations you allow to touch your soul, the silence you finally let speak, the presence you finally let land. Meaning is not something you eventually find. Meaning is something you start feeling today. And when you finally do, when you feel your life as an inner experience instead of an external checklist, you will realize life wasn't waiting for a perfect moment. It was waiting for you to be present in this one. So tell me, not as a lecture, not as a slogan, what moment in your life finally made you feel alive? What made you stop living on autopilot and start living with intention? Leave that in the comments, because the beauty of a meaningful life is that when it is recognized, it becomes something that can be shared. Not for approval, but for truth. And that is what makes life truly worth living.